Daniel Jones, Jonathan Taylor, and the Indianapolis Colts take on Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, and the Kansas City Chiefs in a massive AFC showdown. The Kansas City Chiefs, despite having a record that is 3 games behind the Indianapolis Colts, they are still a field goal favorite in this game at home at Arrowhead. Now, of course, the Indianapolis Colts are 8-2. The Kansas City Chiefs are 5-5. Both teams have a very comparable matchup. The Broncos lost to the Colts early in the season in week 2, and the Chiefs are coming off of a loss versus the Broncos. And I'm going to compare that game because I know that was still early on in the season for the Denver Broncos getting a rhythm, but that still had fundamental pieces of what Denver is. And for the Kansas City Chiefs, who just saw the Denver team, I think that this is the best comparable to look at what this matchup will be, which I believe will be very tight down to the wire. I don't see this game being outside the stretch of 6 points in either direction. Both of these offenses will be prolific enough to score points, as well as both of these defenses have been impressive throughout the season. Now, these are 2 top 10 statistic offenses. The Chiefs are 25 points a game, a squad that is 9th in the NFL in PPG, whereas the Colts, 32 points a game, that is 1st in the league. Chiefs, 7th in the NFL in yards a game. The Colts, 397 yards a game. That is the best in the National Football League. They score points more than anybody else. That is a great reason why they have a shot at the number 1 seed in the conference. And against the Kansas City Chiefs in this matchup, well, they have a chance to fundamentally threaten the Chiefs' chances of making the postseason. I can't believe the words just came out of my mouth. We're in now the later stages of November. We're past the middle part of the season. And saying that phrase, well, that's something that you haven't been able to say in over a decade. The Chiefs, in that loss to the Denver Broncos, they badly missed their star running back, Isaiah Pacheco. His availability for this game against the Colts is unknown. As of the recording of this video, I do not know if he will be able to go and suit up. It was the Kareem Hunt show against the Denver Broncos, and what did that mean? It was a one-dimensional Kansas City Chiefs team that did not have balance. 14 carries overall to 45 attempts from Mahomes. I think Andy Reid will truly believe this was a blatant missed opportunity. If he could do it all over, he'd probably have Mahomes maybe scramble 4 or 5 times, just getting him outside the pocket, or not exactly a full design, but something where he's on the edge of the defense of Denver and not just fully sitting around in the pocket. He was running for his life at times. I'm surprised he only got sacked 3 times by that Denver team that is on a historical pace. They're probably going to finish the season with close to 65, maybe even 70 sacks on the year. Mahomes, 29 of 45, a touchdown, 276, a sub 80 rating. Once again, this has not been his season. He's not used to struggling in this manner. You thought, just like I did, that once Rashee Rice came back into the lineup, that a lot of their issues might just get solved, as well as Xavier Worthy, his health, him being out on the field. Well, both these guys combined for 9 catches, but only for 63 total yards, and that's on 14 targets, so they were not effective down the field. What was most concerning for me is that arguably the best defensive player still in the league, a guy that won the Defensive Player of the Year a year ago, and Pat Surtain, did not play in this game. That is solely why I took the Chiefs to beat the Broncos. I did not think Denver had the manpower without the best cornerback in the league, him out of the lineup. This was big advantage for KC. I mean, Tony Romo probably was right on the same page with that, and guess what? The Denver Broncos hold up well enough in the back end in the secondary, and Bo Nix plays a terrific day. No touchdowns overall, but he was efficient, 24-37, 300 yards. And the Broncos, even without any semblance of a rushing attack in this game, were still able to hold on and get this come-from-behind win in the fourth quarter against Kansas City. The Indianapolis Colts, they had a little bit of luck befall them. That's the only way to put it, with the missed field goal, and they get another crack at it, and that thing goes between the uprights. But the way Indianapolis attacked the Broncos was on the ground. Daniel Jones, he had 6 carries. He had a touchdown on the ground. I remember them really saying, all right, Jonathan Taylor, go get this game for us. Obviously, the Chiefs don't have a back of that caliber, and if Pacheco was healthy, I think that they could commit, say, hey, we're going to run the football 30 times, whether or not we're at around 5 yards a carry or not. We cannot come against this game against Indianapolis and just say, hey, Patrick Mahomes, let's put a cape on once again, because that type of imbalance has put the Chiefs in 3rd and long throughout the entire season. They haven't been balanced. What's made the Chiefs so dangerous is because of how unpredictable they were in short yardage. 5 of 13, under 50% once again on 3rd down, a struggle overall. Travis Kelce was great. He had 6 catches for 91 yards and a touchdown, I believe, a big score there, I want to say, in the 4th quarter. But overall, this is a pretty darn even matchup. I know that the narrative will be, all right, the quarterbacks, do we really trust Daniel Jones to beat Patrick Mahomes? Well, overall, if this were a playoff game and it's at Kansas City, no doubt we're going to be riding with the Chiefs. But regular season, the way that the Chiefs have been playing, what evidence have they shown you on film in their matchups the whole year that you're going to have confidence to say that Kansas City gets this win against Indianapolis right now? The Colts, somewhat fresh. What is looming large is you're typically in this matchup going to see 2 of the better interior defensive linemen in the league. DeForest Buckner versus Chris Jones. Unfortunately, we will not get to see DeForest Buckner. He's been a tree, a monster, an immovable object in the middle of that defense for the Colts. Losing him really impacts them in the near future here. He looks to not be back till around December 14th. With him going on IR, he was a guy that had 2 tackles for loss against the Broncos in that week 1 matchup. So his absence, that looms large. And again, why I think immediately the Chiefs need to attack the interior of the defensive line. They need to attack and run the football. The injuries to the O-line obviously have been key for them. They really were hoping for a lot out of Josh Simmons at left tackle, and he's dealt with a personal issue the entire season, as well as injuries. So it's been difficulty there getting him there. I feel like Josh Simmons at the end of the season comes back in. There's continuity with the offensive line. Then the Chiefs become dangerous because of their history. In December, January, the best performing quarterback, without a doubt, in the last half decade, and Mahomes, 3 Super Bowls to his name. And that's a team that's dangerous. But right now, without that, and a defense that gave up yards, that gave up a 3rd and 14, 15 on that final drive for the Broncos to be able to convert and set themselves up with a throw down to Zaire Franklin to set up a chip shot, 35-yard game-winning field goal. It just didn't feel like a game that Kansas City was going to lose, but push comes to shove. Denver Broncos were at home. The energy was brought, and they just could not. In that final possession, they had the ball, 4 minutes or so, get first down, and Mahomes gets sacked. The ball goes back to Denver. Turnover differential and takeaways starting there. The Colts are 3rd in the league in interceptions. They've got 10 on the season. They are +2 in the differential. Chiefs +3. So overall, that's going to be good, right? Anytime that you're not behind the 8 ball and you're plus overall in the season, that's good. That's 10th and 12th in the league. A lot of teams behind that in not being great in the turnover margin. 2 quarterbacks that overall have protected the football. Daniel Jones turned the ball over quite a bit more towards, I guess, the back half of the season. Mainly it was in that game against Pittsburgh and one of their losses, where I take a step back and say Indianapolis is very dangerous. They got a loss at the Rams. That was the A.D. Mitchell game where he drops the ball right before the goal line. They send his ball dropping before the end zone type character to New York, to the Jets, and he didn't quite play all that well in his debut against the Jets. Look, I wish the guy well. He was a tremendous player for Georgia, if you remember, won a national title for them, and then he played for the Texas Longhorns, team that went to the semifinal. Heck of a player there in college. I think he can get it all sorted out, potentially be a good player for the Jets for a while. Hope everything works out for him. Wasn't the fit there. Then Sauce Gardner. So what is an interesting matchup is maybe DeForest Buckner not available for the Colts, but they could get Sauce Gardner fully available, him being able to perform off the bye week, coming at a really good time for the Colts, right? They had that game in Berlin, goes to overtime, they pull out the win, and now they've got the Chiefs. Perfect opportunity to get Sauce Gardner fully incorporated and understand this defense so he can get out there and play with a bit of confidence in this game against KC, and they're going to need him, frankly. I think that 1 seed is as pivotal as it ever has been. Just ask Kansas City Chiefs fans that saw this team play Houston in the divisional round, basically have a month off at the end of the year around Christmas because of having the division wrapped up, beating the Chargers twice, and it's all done for them. And then the first round bye, don't have to play in the wild card round, and then they've got the Bills at home. I mean, it's been critical getting that home field advantage for them. So Indianapolis, it's the exact same thing. And you not wanting to go to a place like Denver, you not wanting to go to a place like New England. You feel like you play best on the fast track there at Lucas Oil Stadium. Indianapolis, I don't disagree that I would want to be playing there as well instead of having to go to the cold in Denver for a sub-minus 30-degree day, or New England and Foxborough where you might have 4 inches of snow and have to deal with weather and not be able to play exactly your style of game. So that will be pivotal. That's massive for this one. And really for Kansas City, their chances of winning the division about slim to none. When you are 3.5 games behind a team, as well as they have the tiebreaker over you and the other team in front of you and the Chargers has that tiebreaker, there's no shot anymore that the Kansas City Chiefs can win this division. It's pretty much too large of a hole. 3.5 games back in the tiebreaker, as well as there only being 7 games left. It's just not going to happen. So now what does this team do? They fight like heck for a wild card spot. 3 of the 4 teams last year that were in the divisional round or beyond are not currently in playoff spots. The Houston Texans, the Baltimore Ravens, and the Kansas City Chiefs. It is quite possible all 3 could miss the playoffs. It is very possible that all 3 could find themselves playing in the playoffs. But looking at a team like Jacksonville, who's 6-4, KC with a loss to them, that's a tiebreaker. Jacksonville's 6-4, but they might as well be 2 games ahead of Kansas City because of that tiebreaker. So you're starting to look at that and how impactful some of these tiebreakers will be. It doesn't really change a lot here. You've got a looming matchup with the Texans for Indianapolis coming up within the division. They're going to be playing the Jacksonville Jaguars twice in December, so really the division is going to come to a head. They've got the Texans twice, a team now that's 5-5, looking to get C.J. Stroud back, and they've got the Jaguars twice. So in this matchup against Kansas City, you're going to have the full attention on beating the Chiefs. Now, a 3.5 point favorite for Kansas City. I have a tough time feeling how they will stack up throwing the football down the field consistently against Indianapolis. If they can run the football, then I really do have confidence. Some of this actually does have a factor in me seeing this game being outside. I mean, 2 of their losses, again, you look at the loss for Indianapolis to the Rams. Of course, that's indoors. The Colts against Pittsburgh in that game, it was so fluky. 5-6 turnovers. Sometimes you just have a day like that. It happens to everybody where you just bomb a test. Even though that you studied for it, you prepared. Maybe you stayed up a little bit too late the night before studying for a different test or another matchup down the road, and you wind up not showing up. You just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. So really, this team is a position. I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game. When it comes down to it, to believe that Andy Reid is as good as anyone to craft a game plan to be able to run the football, get Mahomes on the perimeter, getting Kelce involved early, Rice and Worthy, getting these guys down the field. Who is ready to see Sauce Gardner versus Xavier Worthy the length of the field? Or Sauce Gardner covering Rashee Rice? I know, I'm sure excited to see this matchup. Fascinating, no doubt, for all of us to see those guys fly down the field. But of course, Jonathan Taylor, his impact on this game, he is the true X factor. We haven't really talked about him much, but we're going to talk about him right now. Jonathan Taylor has probably been the best player in the NFL. Him and Matthew Stafford. You can make that argument that those have been the best 2 players in the league this season. His impact on this Colts team has been second really to just about nobody. In the game against Atlanta, 244 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. You just don't see that in everyday or human life. Even in college, you really just don't see stat lines like that. That reminds you of like what Zeke Elliott's in the national title game put up something like that type of stat line. I mean, that just doesn't happen all that often. In the game against Denver earlier on in the season, he had 165 yards on 25 carries. He didn't get into the end zone for a score. He also had 50 yards receiving in that game. You're talking about a guy that had 215 total yards, the 50 through the air receiving, and then the carries. So this man's got to touch the football at least 25 times. Do the Chiefs have an answer for Jonathan Taylor? I believe that this game you're going to be having all the analysts and people talking about, besides myself, about the quarterbacks. Mahomes is better than Daniel Jones. Are you crazy taking? It doesn't come down to that, in my opinion. It's whether or not can the Chiefs run the ball, because we talked about Sauce Gardner in the back end, Franklin over the middle, roaming around. This Indianapolis Colts defense has been very strong. Likely no Charvarius Ward still. Ebukam, the defensive line, most likely not in the lineup. So they are missing guys, but it's coming down to the run game. I'm sorry to say it, if you're a Chiefs fan and you think that Mahomes can just pull you out of anything, if you can't stop Jonathan Taylor, the ball won't be in Mahomes' hands with a chance in this game. The Colts can salt away the clock. It limits the amount of possessions, and efficiency just becomes critical, and the Chiefs have not been efficient this season. If you get them 11 or 12 possessions, sure, they're able to put up some points, but if they only get 8 possessions overall in a game, certainly makes things a lot tougher. I believe Indianapolis pulls them into a close one, but ultimately comes up just shy. I've got the Chiefs winning 27-24, right there in the playoffs spot, really chugging along. They're going to have the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving in a national spotlight. Not saving their season, but sort of saving their season overall. Most likely, I think it comes down to their game against the Texans. Right now, it's slated to be a Sunday night game that is also the same day. You've got like Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers. When those two teams are good, the NFL loves them, so you could expect that one to get flexed into Sunday nights. Chiefs, Texans to get flexed out. But I think that it could come down to that and whether or not KC could be a playoff team, just because of Houston and the tiebreakers, how important those are for head-to-head. This game against the Colts is pivotal, no doubt, to try and get some momentum before that. So I'm going to take the Chiefs, like I said, 27-24. Let me know down below in the comments who you think wins this game. Do you agree quarterback is the most important position, but it's not coming down to that? You think it's the run game, opportunities for Chris Jones to shut down Taylor? Can he do it? 4th and 1 in a 3-point game, a chance to get into the backfield and stop Jonathan Taylor and shut down this Colts team. Final drive, ball's at the 45-yard line, minute 46 left, and the Colts decide to run it, and Chris Jones can make a play. Feels like it can be that type of day. I want to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more Blitz with Blender content. I'm Josh Blender. I make NFL and college videos every week, preparing you for these matchups, also adding in some of that passion, enthusiasm that I know that you share for this sport. This is the meat and potatoes now of the football season. We've got championship weekend coming up for college football. We've got playoffs now looming here on the near horizon, well beyond the halfway point of the regular season of the NFL. Approaching week 12 now. Amazing how quickly it goes by, but certainly not with any negativity towards that. We love this part of the year, talking about playoff implications and where it stacks up. Of course, 2 very good teams, historical teams. You think back to, what was that, the 2013 matchup in the wild card round, I want to say, and the Colts. Man, that was incredible. That game against Kansas City. And you think back to that comeback. It was like a 28-point comeback, something remarkable like that, being able to pull out that win. Andrew Luck, was it Alex Smith? I want to say it was. But anyway, appreciate you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.